This convenes a hearing on the application for a waiver of designation requirements filed on November 4th, 2021 by Alan and Kathleen Naiman. This is January 25th and 11:15. I do apologize for the delay. It was scheduled 11 o'clock, but I appreciate your indulgence. This opens the public hearing. If any attorney is present for the applicant of the waiver, you will be afforded an opportunity to make an opening statement. At this point, do we swear in the witnesses, or do we just do the opening statements?
I believe Mr. Naiman, you're, my name is Mike Lyons, I'm with Investors. Do you plan to speak or testify?
I guess I'll represent myself, yeah.
Okay, all right. Did you want to make a few statements?
Well, not really, no.
Okay, all right. Okay, well,
I think it was stated in the application that I guess the only statement would be that
Okay.
I'm right for it, need to have to pay.
well, you want to come forward, please? We want to make this the public record for the hearing, afford you the opportunity, as like the attorneys, as well as witnesses. So, yes. So we need to, I guess, swear them in, if you wouldn't mind.
Do you affirm that what you're going to testify is the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And please state your name, address, and place.
My name is Alan Naiman. I live at 1598 Cooter Road in Hinckley Township, Ohio, 44233. The reason I've applied to ask for me to be able to transfer my refuse to a location that I work at, a business that I own and operate, and pay another refuse company to remove garbage. That's all I'm asking for, is that I'm able to transfer my refuse from my house to my business and dispose of it. And some of the laws or rules that I've heard seem fairly absurd, such as you cannot transfer refuse from one county to another. I believe just in a simple statement of buying a burger in Medina County and taking it to Cuyahoga County and throwing away wrappings is illegal, from what I understand by that rule. And that's just absurd. And it's a stretch of government, too, that I don't really care for, imposing through Hinckley's Township that I must pay a private entity for a service that I do not require. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any questions for the gentleman? Okay. At this point in time, I guess we'll have to move in. Do you have any witnesses to come forward, or any kind of communication from anyone in support of your position?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the board? Yes, okay. Medina County Solid Waste Management District staff, I guess will likewise, you now present your case. And state name and position, please.
First, let's,
Okay, swear in, please.
do you
Yeah.
affirm that the evidence you present is the truth?
I do. Jeremy Cinco, Medina County Sanitary Engineer. In response to Mr. Naiman's application for waiver, there's a few items here where I feel that the waiver application should be denied. First is that the waiver request form that the Solid Waste District does have is for industrial and commercial waste, and Mr. Naiman's waiver application is for residential use. The second is that...
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, Jeremy, according to our solid waste plan,
Mhm.
we have adopted and approved, is there a provision in that plan that allows a waiver for residential waste?
No. To my knowledge, no.
Thank you.
Let's see here. The second item is Mr. Naiman's does not meet the Mr. Naiman's application does not meet the types of waste that qualifies for a waiver. And for instance, some of these items are infectious, pathological, or biological waste, chemotherapeutic waste, radioactive waste, hazardous waste, explosive and ordnance materials, drums, barrels, buckets. I believe you have a copy of this. I don't necessarily feel like I need to read all 15 items, but it doesn't meet any of that criteria, which is also listed on the waiver itself. The waiver is if a waiver is issued by the district, the solid waste is to be received at an undesignated facility or transfer facility. So basically, the waiver request is, instead of taking it to our transfer facility, they're requesting to take it to another landfill or transfer facility. This request is for to take the waste from our transfer facility and take it to a dumpster, I'll call it, where that is not an actual transfer facility. It is to be picked up by the commercial hauler. And then the last item here is, number 4 here, approving the waiver would set a precedent allowing other residents throughout the county to be exempt from flow control, which is the funding mechanism for the solid waste district. In relation to that item, the delivery of residential solid waste to an out-of-county business or location is not consistent with the projections contained in the district's initial or amended plan under divisions A6 and 7 of section 3734.53 of the revised code as approved or ordered to be implemented and may not adversely affect the implementation and financing of the district's initial or amended plan.
So beyond the, our solid waste policy plan is included in some Ohio revised codes that we would be violating by making this exception.
So, if I may,
If you please.
sure, I'm actually Joe Durham with Eastman and Smith. The commissioners retained our firm to represent the district. Mr. Naiman had filed a 2506 administrative appeal to the Court of Common Pleas, and I have been representing the commissioners and the district, those names in that appeal. That was voluntarily dismissed. But I just want to introduce myself. So I'm here as an attorney representing the district. I would just make a statement in response to that. There is a waiver provision in the statute in 343.01.
Can you pick up?
And it,
You need to come forward. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Joe, if
Would you please
come to
come
microphone.
forward?
Yeah.
Sorry, we're trying to record this absent a court reporter. So
There
we're
you
trying to document everything should there be an appeal. So go
Sure.
ahead.
I can restate that if it needs to be on the recorder, but.
That'd probably be a good idea.
Yep,
Please.
my name is Joe Durham with the law firm of Eastman and Smith. The commissioners engaged our firm to represent both the commissioners and the district that were named as they were named in this 2506 appeal that the Naimans had filed against the township and included you. That appeal was voluntarily dismissed by the Naimans to then apply for this waiver. In answering the question, Ohio Revised Code Section 343.01 does address a waiver, and it says that the Board of Commissioners, on behalf of the district, can grant a waiver to allow waste to go to an undesignated facility, but that's a solid waste facility. And I believe, as Jeremy was indicating, the definition in the revised code under the Ohio EPA laws and under your plan define a solid waste facility as a solid waste disposal facility like a landfill or a solid waste transfer facility, which is licensed by Ohio EPA. So there's not been any evidence as to whether Mr. Naiman's business would qualify for either of those. But as a creature of statute, I believe the county commissioners can only follow what the statute says, and the statute says that you can issue a waiver so that waste can go to an undesignated solid waste facility. Are there any questions?
Go ahead.
Joe, yes, but I have to ask a question before I can ask you a question. So Jeremy, Hinckley Township is a township that has bid out its collection of waste and
Correct.
recyclables?
Correct.
Okay. And so under that program, there are exemptions or exceptions
I believe there's 3.
that a person can opt out of that program?
Correct.
Okay. So my question then becomes, if someone opts out of that program, what are they legally required to do with their trash? Do they have to bring it to the Medina County facility?
Correct. Yeah, I believe you have a copy of that.
I do have a copy of their application, or at least what was online
Yeah,
yesterday.
that was one of the
It's
items,
same one.
was,
So I think we have a copy of Mr. Naaman's appeal too, as to what he filled out.
but that was one of the items, is that they can opt out with the idea of taking the trash to,
Our facility,
the
to
facility
the
within
Medina County facility
Correct.
themselves.
or, and I think they also said if they had, at least on the application, it allowed them if they owned a business within Medina County.
I only have one copy, I'm sorry.
We include that
I
as
think it was
part
on
of
the
the
other
record.
side, Bill, at the bottom.
Yeah, it states you take your solid waste items to Medina County Solid Waste District Facility at 8700 Lake Road, Seville, Ohio. Or secondly, you take your solid waste to your own business outside of Hinckley Township presumably, but within Medina County. Or you have permission from a business owner who has a business within Medina County to utilize solid waste disposal services at that location. So it looks like that the options are, it has to be disposed of inside Medina County in order to opt out of that program.
And that's out of the Hinckley Township program, correct?
And that is one that's under full compliance with the solid waste management policies established by the county, correct? Those exemptions as well? Is that included within our plan?
I mean-
Or are those ones that every township independently would be, as well, every community would be able to make
I believe that.
for exemptions?
As far as what the exemptions requirement for
Right.
that, for Hinckley, I think that was their exemption. Some townships don't have exemptions. I believe they created theirs.
Well, my question is, do they have do they have authority under our plan to create those exemptions and set the conditions of those exemptions, such as the city of Brunswick, or any other municipality or the townships? Do they have the authority, or is that one that basically is outlined within our solid waste management plan?
But all of the exemptions, correct me if I'm wrong,
Mm-hmm.
include the trash staying within Medina County.
Correct.
Right,
So they
right,
kind of
okay.
imply that they are part of our plan.
Well, my question, they have the authority to do that. Yes, you may go ahead and ask a question.
If I can interject. From what I understand.
Mr. Naaman,
You-
again, because we're recording this,
Yes.
you have to come up to the microphone.
Yes, sorry, yeah,
Are the stations that are required or stated that the refuse has to be disposed of, are those actual processing stations, or are they just transfer stations?
Processing,
Could you clarify your?
Processing is when they actually take the refuse, they take the product that comes into them, and they do something with it. They segregate it, they sort it, they do whatever they have
I
to do
see.
with it.
Okay, yeah,
Rerouting
right.
is just taking a truck that comes in, that has Hinckley Township's refuse in it, and saying, go to Holmes County and dump it over there. I don't believe that Medina County actually has a dump site, per se. It's outside of the county, so therefore, all the requirements telling a resident that they have to dispose of their refuse within Medina County seems a little ridiculous when there isn't a landfill in Medina County for it to go to.
Jeremy?
Do you want to see those?
to address Mr. Naaman?
Yeah.
No,
All the,
Okay, okay.
all of the generated solid waste in the county is collected, whether by city or private hauler or resident bringing it to the facility, is then dumped on the transfer floor at the facility, and then that is then processed and then hauled off to a landfill facility at that point. unless a waiver has been granted due to those particular items, and then, which that material is then direct hauled to the landfill.
Yes, you have a question?
I wanted to ask Jeremy, is that typical, is that standard of all transfer stations that you're aware of in the state of Ohio?
I'm only familiar with our transfer station
Okay,
here.
because I was just wondering if that's the case, would it be any different if I take my refuse, have it removed from my business facility to another transfer station within the state of Ohio?
So if I hear your question correctly, you're asking if your trash is direct hauled?
Oh, I know it is. I know where my trash is going. I'm asking you that if you question a different county's garbage disposal, I'm asking if you're questioning that or not, because you're specifically saying everything has to be done within Medina County. And I don't understand why all refuse within Medina County has to be processed within Medina County. As I said, if I bought a burger in Cuyahoga County and I drove to Medina County and threw that wrapper away, I'm breaking the law. Seems a little absurd.
The whole reason that the flow control was originally instituted in the county was a funding mechanism as a way for the district to cover cost of all of their operations to provide, that they provide to the county.
Okay, the cost for the county. I'm talking about my township having a private business charge me to take the refuse off of my property that I don't need them to take off of my property and remove. So there's no cost extra involved there.
Jeremy, I have a question. As far as keeping it within Medina County, besides recoup of cost, doesn't it also help us meet some EPA requirements and standards and minimum levels by having it all within our county so that we are able to?
I don't know if there's a minimum requirement, to my knowledge, as far as the number of tons that needs to be processed. With all with facility upgrades, as far as loans that we take out for our new commercial mixed waste processing, the building renovations, the residential campus, this is a way for us to ensure that the district has a funding mechanism to pay for these kind of items.
But fundamentally, Medina County is a solid waste district, right?
Correct.
And the purpose of the solid waste district is to collect and manage all of the waste that is generated inside the confines of the district. So whether that's commercial waste, we don't do a lot of industrial, but commercial waste and residential waste.
Correct.
It's the purpose of the district is to manage all of the waste that's generated within the jurisdiction.
Correct, and just to kind of piggyback on that point, you have, the recycle bin program that we have with all those bins, that's all paid for through the waste that's brought here. Household hazardous waste that we provide as a free service to the residents where they can dispose of hazardous materials for free. So those kind of, we also have the, recently just got into contract with Smith Brothers for our yard waste program where residents can also bring in yard waste at a fee, but yeah, those are.
But again, the purpose of having a solid waste district is to collect and manage and dispose of in whatever fashion, I'm not saying throw it out, but address all of the waste that is generated inside the jurisdiction of the county.
Correct.
And so if a resident is generating waste inside the county, the district is the mechanism for disposing of it.
That is correct.
May I ask then, why are 5% of the Hinckley residents allowed to opt out of that?
So that's one of the things that I was looking at here. And maybe, Joe, that would be appropriate for you to address that, but it's my understanding that the way the state statutes are written, that there is an allowance, if you will, of up to 5% of the residents that can unsubscribe or not subscribe to the services that are provided for the collection. But as I read down here, want to opt out of the service, there are requirements. The trash or waste still has to be disposed of in Medina County. So one way or another, it's gonna go to 8700 Lake Road. So, I mean, and even, sir, in your example of the wrapper, that you buy the burger at
Yes.
Cuyahoga County.
Yes.
So at some point in time, that wrapper becomes a product for containing your burger, and at some point in time, it transitions into being waste.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I would suggest to you that if that transition occurs in Medina County, then it has to be disposed of in Medina County.
Did you want Joe to talk about the exemptions or
Yes,
so?
Joey, if you could
If
talk
you wanted
about the
to.
exemptions, if there's any you could.
Add to it?
Yeah, certainly for the townships, under the statute that allows them to contract with an exclusive hauler, as they've done in this case with Kimball. I'm not sure it actually addresses an exemption. I think that was done between Kimball and the township in this case. I've seen it done. There are townships throughout Ohio that don't allow exemptions. I see it all over the state of Ohio where they allow exemptions. But I don't think that they address that as part of a solid waste management plan. And so the question at this point is, I think when we're talking about you're a solid waste management district, you've implemented flow control through designating your processing facility that all waste comes there. Whether or not, you know, other solid waste management districts don't do that. They let the waste go anywhere. You did that for reasons.
But to Bill's point, Hinckley's exemptions do not violate our flow control to 8700. You know what I mean?
Right, because
They, they all
they're
still
still
stay
coming
in,
here.
they all still stay in Medina
Yep.
County.
That'd be in compliance with the plan.
Right.
And to the extent, you know, a couple things for the record. One, I believe you're looking at a recommendation that was given to you from the district, which I believe was, a copy was given to Mr. Naaman as well. And in the application, it referenced some case law, which the application that I received from the Naamans didn't have that case in there, but I would just say that, you know, the Supreme Court in 2007 dealt with a similar situation with flow control for a publicly owned facility and upheld that. So as far as, you know, whether or not you have the ability to keep the waste in the county and have it come to your own facility, I think that's been clearly decided by the Supreme Court of the United States. I'll tell you, as far as in-county versus out-of-county waste versus out-of-state waste, and out-of-state waste, we get into the Commerce Clause. But Ohio EPA, and you don't have a disposal fee that you charge, but other districts charge a disposal fee pursuant to the statute that charges $2 per ton on every ton generated in district, $4 for any waste generated out of district, but then $2 for any waste generated out of state that comes to their facility. So, you know, that's discriminatory against out of district waste, but that's how the law is set up.
Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions from the board? Would, do you have any further questions? Please come forward.
Not questions, but I do have to, I would like to.
You want to make a closing statement?
Yeah, I would like
Okay.
to state that
All right.
I still am befuddled at the decision that all refuse needs to be managed within the county of Medina. I see Rumpke, I see Kimball operating across the state of Ohio. I operate a business and I understand how things work, and I can't see how every single collection of garbage is actually making its transfer to the Medina County or whatever county disposal facility it needs to go to. And to then make any decision, future decision, that an individual who runs multiple businesses in multiple counties and pays for multiple refuse disposal in those counties cannot remove simple refuse from his kitchen into one of those dumpsters that goes to another transfer facility is beyond me. I'm befuddled. I'm a little old school. I'm a little old fashioned. My dad was raised in the Depression. He taught me that way. You make do with what you have, and you don't try to extend things onto other people and put other costs onto individuals. And I believe that's exactly what Kimball's doing. I think this is more of a case of big business than it is for actual refuse care. I think this is more a case, if you decide that I can remove my garbage, I don't have to go through Kimball, I believe that they're afraid that they're gonna lose money because other people will then opt for that.
Okay. Joe or Jeremy, do you have any closing statements?
I don't think so. I think you have staff's recommendation, and I think that follows the law.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, we can discuss this, we can deliberate. We also can take our time, as I understand, we can end this hearing and then have a further discussion if we want to write up a decision regarding this. I know there's a...
This is considered a quasi-judicial
Right,
proceeding, so as a board, you can deliberate in chambers without the necessity of an executive session, so that is up to the board.
okay.
But I think you have 90 days from, well, I think there was an extension, you had requested an extension, Mr. Navin, of the hearing date, so.
I did originally, yes, sir, but I have another case in February in Cuyahoga County.
All right. But I think you had 90 days from the date of the filing, which was, that November 4th, I believe.
Right.
November 4th,
Mhm.
December, January, February 4th, well.
It's next week.
And
So Mike, do you recommend that we just make a decision? Or do you
I think
recommend
that would be
we-
fine.
that
Do we-
make
do-
a written decision? Because I'm prepared to make a decision.
well, at this point, as I understand this, and this obviously could be appealed, go back, do we not have to include our findings of fact and our rationale for our decision in that?
Well, I think you can make a decision if if there was an appeal and a request for a finding of fact and conclusion of law.
Right.
This is kind of a decision of the board, whether you want to formalize it in that more elaborate way, or simply make a decision. And I'm advising the board at this point, if you would like to issue a more detailed finding, I could assist you with that. And we could discuss this in, you can make a decision,
Mhm.
vote, and then follow that up with finding. It's one approach. You could deliberate and then at your meeting next week, finalize the decision. If you wanted to have it a little bit more clearly stated as your rationale, we could work on that between now and next week. So, I think those are your choices.
My comfort level, my preference that we would have something where we provide some detail with the findings of fact and a rationale for the decision. Should there be I know that there are other entities or individuals out there that are not happy with the requirements within the township, and I don't want to start setting a precedent. I'd like to make it very clear as the rationale for our decision, should we either approve or disapprove this waiver in a much more formal way.
All right, well, then I think you might want to have, go into deliberation.
All right.
Discuss your rationale.
Okay.
So that you can have something for you to act upon at your next time you have a meeting.
Okay, all right. Would that be acceptable, to both of you? All right. In which case, we can conclude the hearing, go into our board discussion, and do we have to then come back out, or we basically say we're going to deliberate, in which time we'll have our decision can be made public at our next public meeting?
I think that's adequate.
Okay, all right.
You can end the hearing and then you can deliberate.
Okay.
Without the necessity of any formal action to go into the.
Good, all right, very good. And so that when we come back out and actually produce this finding, that will be in a public meeting. Right, okay. All right,
Your action has to be done in the
Okay, if there's no other party that has an interest in being part of the record? Going once, twice, okay, 3 times, that's it. That will formally conclude this public hearing.
Are we gonna conclude the hearing, or we're just gonna conclude the taking of evidence, and now we'll go into deliberations?
Yes, that would be,
So we're not concluding the hearing, or
well, I think the hearing
is concluded? Right, so we go ahead and discuss.
This
Okay.
under advisement
Yes.
and issue its decision, presumably at its next public hearing.
Okay, all right, excellent.
It's next public meeting.
Public meeting, which will be next week. All right, thank you.